Hi everyone, I'm Christian Ponte. I'm here with Arnie Roth, Conductor of Distant Worlds music for Final Fantasy. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Of course, my pleasure.
Now, it's been almost a year and a half since you last talked to us, and especially since the last Distant Worlds concert, the full concert at least, it was in Chicago last summer, or summer 2011.
Right.
But this year in particular is kind of a big deal for Final Fantasy.
It certainly is. I mean, it's 25 years. It was December of 1987. It was released in Japan. So, yeah, this is the year of the 25th anniversary celebrations. So, a lot of planning. We've been working on this with Square Enix and Uematsu for, I don't know, it seems like about a year and a half.
So, what have you been up to, at least in the past few months, to kind of prepare for this concert tour, celebration tour?
Well, the basic idea, it's always interesting working with Square Enix. The basic idea is that we thought of 25th anniversary and said, great, let's do a unique program, add new scores, and we can be touring for the whole next year with that new thematic material, celebrating 25 years of Final Fantasy. But Square Enix didn't want that. What they wanted were three very specific concerts in three main territories of the world: Europe, North America, and Japan. And they wanted just those three to be celebration concerts, even while at the same time, the next day or the next week, we're doing concerts in other cities in the same time period, Distant Worlds, music from Final Fantasy. So it's been an odd kind of putting together these three big gala events. And now, of course, we're talking right after the very first one, which was in London at Royal Albert Hall just a few days ago, last Friday. Fantastic concert. But the concept was that we did that one in Europe, in London. We're doing the one, and it had to fall within the quote-unquote anniversary period, November, December, right? So we're doing the one in Chicago on December 7th, which is an official celebration concert. And I'm working with Square Enix America for a lot of special events and exhibits and things that will be taking place in the lobby there in Chicago. I work with Square Enix Europe in London for that. And then we move over to Japan, where we're going to be doing three concerts, two in Tokyo and one in Osaka, all under the same celebration theme. So, I can give you all the specifics about the program now. As a matter of fact, we're just posting it right now. The structure of the concert is that we're going to present music from all 14 versions, main versions of the Final Fantasy 1 through 14, in chronological order, which is unusual for us. We might program it more programmatically, skipping around the various versions of the game, but in this case we wanted to have a unique structure of the concert too. It'll open with a very special retrospective Final Fantasy history movie that Square Enix is putting together, and we'll open with the prelude while that movie is playing. And then after that we're going all the way in chronological order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then I think intermission, 11, 12, 13, 14 are after intermission, and then we've got a couple of special highlights after that we're putting together. So that's the basic structure of the concert. I can tell you that we will be doing a new version of the opera. Nobu and I, he's always wanted to do what he called a more perfect version of Marion Draco. His idea of that was that it would have the battle music that was implied in the opera. A battle is raging outside the castle walls, and he actually had written some battle music for it, but it never ended up getting used in the game. So he always wanted to kind of complete the opera scene that we play live with some battle music in there. So there's about 2 minutes of new music that's in the opera that we've orchestrated. And then there's also another new thing, and that is that we've added the chorus into the opera. So we have the three vocal soloists, Rouse and Draco and Maria. But then we also have chorus, and now we've also added a narrator. So there's a narrator position, which is similar to the information that used to pop up in the game that, you know, battle raged outside the castle walls while, you know, this kind of background information. The narrator will be able to tell us that live as the music is playing. So it becomes an interesting, a bigger production, the opera. So we're doing that, again, only in these celebration concerts, not in any of the other ones that we're doing this year. Also, Susan Calloway will be one of the guest soloists with us. She'll be singing Answers from Final Fantasy XIV. She just sang that in London spectacularly, really, it's a fantastic piece, actually. And then she'll also sing, we have a new version of Eyes on Me. But I can tell you that there's some of the highlights of new scores that we're doing. We're doing Battle of the Four Fiends from Final Fantasy IV. Really great arrangement of it, it's really great. We've just added the main theme from Final Fantasy V. That's a piece that we hadn't played live before, so we're doing that in this chronological order, right? In 6, we've added another new piece, which is Phantom Forest, or Mystic Forest. We'll be doing that one as well. We'll do One Winged Angel as the representative from 7, rather than an encore. It'll be actually right in the program. But, you know, again, there's lots of new things. There's also a couple of new medleys. A new Chocobo medley that we've written actually for the concert. And we will be representing music by Naoshi Mizuta, the Vanadil March from 11, and Hitoshi Sakimoto from 12. We've orchestrated a new version of the Dalmasca Esther Sound. So that piece will be played from 12. So you really have other composers being represented. Of course, Hamauzu's Blinded by Light from 13. So we have at least 3 or 4 other Final Fantasy composers along with Uematsu involved in this. And there are some surprise medleys that come up at the end as well. So I don't want to... Although if you just look at the reviews from London, you'll get the idea. So...
Spoilers?
Yeah, right, exactly. But it's a fun concert, very different in many ways from our other concerts. So, plus new video content to go with all that Square Enix has now come up with, given us more new material on each of these. So it should be great. It should really be a fantastic time.
Are there any special guest performers or other special guests in attendance that you'd perhaps like to announce?
Yeah, well, I think. So I just mentioned that Susan Calloway will be in Chicago, and she'll be singing Answers and also Eyes on Me as part of the celebration concert. Nobuo Uematsu will be there himself, and there's going to be a large contingent of representatives from Square Enix America who will be there. We're having special displays set up in the lobby, artwork by Amano, a special exhibit of the theater rhythm new game, right? And there will be actually, I think, some kind of contest or battles going on there live in the lobby. They'll actually set up the consoles, and so that'll be part of festivities. Also, I can announce to you a little special thing which we haven't told anyone yet. You're actually the first, and we're about to announce later this week. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit. We are adding more to the lobby festivities. There's a special wider array of 25th anniversary merchandise that we're bringing in, all the soundtrack records, original soundtrack releases, as well as Distant Worlds merchandise. But there will also be some of the Chocobo plush toys and things like that people rarely get a chance to get. We're bringing in for this one. We're able to import from Square Enix directly. So there's that. There's Square Enix has about 4 or 5 different displays. I mentioned some of them already. There's a photo op kind of thing. There's several different displays and game displays that they'll be doing, and history of Final Fantasy exhibits that they'll be doing. But we're also announcing that we're going to do a short little mini performance in the lobby for anyone that gets a ticket, any category of tickets, in the lobby at about 6:40, 6:45, something like that, we're just doing a little 10-minute performance. And the performance is going to be Nobu Uematsu and myself. We're playing Dark World from 6 with the string quartet. And then there's also another piece that we're playing under a new Chocobo arrangement for chamber music that we just premiered in London, and we're trying to develop more chamber music arrangements of Final Fantasy. So we'll premiere a couple of those things at no extra charge. It's just a special celebration bonus, you know, for the occasion. So that'll happen also at about 6:40, 6:45. And we're just coming out with all that information now, so.
Might have to take a trip to the ATM for all that merchandise.
I think so, yeah. It was pretty amazing in London. Everything went.
Now, you mentioned that you're going to have new HD video presentations and exclusive content from Square Enix at the concert. Can you tell us more about that and how involved Square Enix has actually been in augmenting these anniversary concerts?
Yeah, they've been very hands-on with this. I mean, usually they allow myself and Nobu Uematsu to kind of tailor each one of these shows that we're doing in these various territories. You know, in the last few years, we've expanded to go to many different areas of the world, and we're going to Europe a lot more now this next year. But these specific celebration concerts, they considered extremely important to their company, and we started talking about this about a year ago. I kept saying 25th anniversary, and finally, in maybe February or March, they really started getting quite serious about the construction of the program. I actually went back and forth with Square Enix directly, more than I did with Nobu Uematsu, about the entire makeup of the concert. So it was interesting working with them directly about which pieces, because they would go back to each of the composers, Sakimoto, Hamauzu, Uematsu, Mizuta, and when I would suggest, well, if we're going to do that piece, then this one would pair next to it. Or, you know, in 12, which of the pieces the composer would prefer to have played. We had only been performing up to this point, Kiss Me Goodbye, which is one of Uematsu's songs from 12, but none of the music from within the game, per se. And a lot of fans have written in, you know, why don't you do more Mizuta? Why don't you do more Sakimoto? So I feel like we're able to bring more of that out now. And after the first of the year, we'll be able to incorporate these new scores into future Distant Worlds concerts. So now we can bring out 12 and more from the online game 11. Mm-hmm. You may be aware of the fact that I also just did this fall a concert dedicated to Final Fantasy XI, the online game. It was 100% music from Final Fantasy XI, music of Kumi Tanioka, Mizuta as well, and some Uematsu in there as well. And we did that in Berkeley, California. It was a great success, and it was actually a lot of fun and gratifying to meet those other composers. We flew them in and interact with them, and so we have all of those scores as well from 11 that we can bring into Distant Worlds now. So yeah, I mean, we keep expanding. Distant Worlds now at this point has about 75 scores from Final Fantasy in its library, not counting the chamber music scores, which we're now developing. So we could easily do 3 or 4 nights and not repeat anything. You know, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. On the one hand, it's a lot of fun. On the other hand, it makes it more difficult to program the concerts because we can't do 75 pieces. We have to keep cutting something out to put a new piece in. So, because there are time constraints, you know, in each of these. But it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. How did you go about programming the specific concert? And you know, I'm sure you want like, you know, an intense piece here, a slower piece there, maybe some songs. How did you go about selecting which pieces would represent each each game in the series? And were there any huge fan favorites that unfortunately were left out?
Oh, I think that there always will be. You know, over 25 years, you're going to have one person that was just dying to hear this or dying to hear that. Out of all the pieces, I would say that the vast majority of fans the most requests we get are for music from 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I mean, the majority of the requests of specific scores. There's certainly many of them now with 1, 2, 3, and 4, especially with the re-release of some of those. And the newer players, 13 is quite popular too. 14 is just getting going again. But there's some fantastic music in 14, I must say. I mean, I'm a real big fan of the music. Since there's so much already in our library for 7, 8, and 9 and 10, but 7 and 8 mostly, 6, 7, 8. It would be easy, frankly, to do a concert of just, let's say, 6, 7, 8, or 6, 7, 8, 9, or something like that. It'd be very simple to do that, because we have enough repertoire. But the converse of that is that it's very easy to disappoint people. Somebody wants to hear Don't Be Afraid, somebody wants to hear You're Not Alone, somebody wants to hear Aerith's theme from 7, and these are all beloved scores that we all want to hear. Then there are a great outcry for things like Dancing Mad from 6 and the opera from 6. But these are big scores, and they're 9 to 11 minutes long, and it's very difficult to put all of those into one concert. So no matter what we would have done, somebody would have been overjoyed and somebody would have been upset that we left something out. I'd say out of all the scores, maybe Aerith's theme and I don't know, there's so many that from 7 and 8 that we're not able to play an endless supply of those in this, but they're very popular.
Now, I know you mentioned that you've done the concert in London, you're coming to Chicago, and you're doing the additional concerts in Japan. Why the decision to go with just those concerts for the celebration as opposed to maybe a longer tour to hit more spots, so more fans could experience the 25th anniversary? No,
I agree. I mean, as a matter of fact, we felt that we should do that, that we should make it more like a switch, that once we hit November 1st, we're in the celebration mode, right? And let it go for 3 months, 6 months, whatever, all concerts that fall within a certain period of time. But Square Enix had very definite ideas about that. They didn't want to do it that way. They wanted to make a few real gala events. And the reality is, when you look at our Distant Worlds concerts and you look at the Celebration concert, in the 10,000-foot view, they don't look that different. I mean, we perform the opera, we perform a lot of the same repertoire. Clearly, I just think that we might be talking about 50% new material in the Celebration concert, all of which will go into the Distant Worlds concerts over the course of the next year anyhow. So it's just a little bit of a push here at the end of the year to help celebrate that. So that's how I'm looking at it. And in many ways, it's interesting to look at a 25th anniversary celebration. When I look back at the start of Distant Worlds, we started right around the 20th anniversary of Final Fantasy. As a matter of fact, I remember Uematsu's statement at the beginning about we're starting Distant Worlds commemorating 20 years of Final Fantasy. And here we are commemorating the 25th. So, in many ways, I would like to say we're always looking forward, not back. And that is that, yes, we could have done, I suppose, a year's worth of 25th anniversary concerts. But on the other hand, I like the idea of adding new scores and adding them more and more as we go on, so that we're starting to look at pairings of 2 concerts and 3 concerts where they're slightly different, each one of the concerts. We've started doing that more frequently. And I like that. I like the idea that then fans make kind of a weekend of this, or a marathon of it, like as we did in Chicago, where it was 2 concerts on one day last time, and we could do all different scores. And really, you're able to hear so much material over those 2 concerts. So I'm kind of enjoying that. I'm also constantly looking for new ways to expand the repertoire. Besides simply writing new orchestra arrangements, there are also other ways, like for instance, collaborating with Nobuo Uematsu and his band. So collaborative concerts, orchestra and band together, which we want to do. Another way is we have a good amount of choral music, doing actually an a cappella choral concert. That's something I've been thinking about for a while now.
I would love that.
Yeah, it would be really great. Promised Land and lots of other pieces that we already have, some of which are a cappella. Others would have to be adapted to be a cappella, but it's not so difficult. And I'm very interested in that, so maybe that will be another development over the next year or so. But look, we did 25 years. It's not that long for 30-year anniversary, so it'll go by quickly.
Last time we spoke, the Returning Home DVD had recently come out,
Right.
and you mentioned that you were actually already thinking about the next album, Distant Worlds 3.
Right.
Any updates on that, and might it have anything to do with the top secret collaborative activity that you and Nobuo traveling to Prague about 2 months ago?
Right. Yeah, it was so top secret, and then I told everyone, right? No, that record is coming out, yes. It's not a Distant Worlds 3 record. It's officially a Square Enix, 25-year celebration release. I conducted all of the new tracks that are on there, new recordings, and in Prague, and Nobu was there with me, and we both kind of co-produced the project. I did all of the mixing and editing. I mean, you're sitting here in my studio downstairs. We mixed the entire project. We even overdubbed a lot of instrumentals here. So, but that is coming out in time for, I think, the 26th of December in Japan. The question is, there's also some talk about filming the concerts, these 25th anniversary concerts in Japan when we're there. They would like me to then release them as we did Returning Home on the Distant Worlds series this next year, or through Distant Worlds. If we do that, you're talking about a DVD as well as this new, I think it's 3 or 4 discs, audio collection. It's a lot of material already to be releasing. So what we have to decide is we still want to do Distant Worlds 3. Mm-hmm. But the question of whether Distant Worlds 3 is more orchestral arrangements, I think it could really be Distant Worlds, the intimate music of Final Fantasy, where it could be all the chamber music arrangements. And since we've started performing that now, I think we're getting close to putting that together. So that I would be more in, because otherwise you have an awful lot of orchestral things cluttering the horizon. They're all great, and these new Prague recordings are terrific too. But on there you will find, in that collection, you'll find some older releases that they're putting in this collection, and then you'll find these new recordings, which include Del Mosca Esther-san and Battle with Four Fiends, Phantom Forest, some of the things that we're doing in the Celebration concert. The new opera, we did a full recording of it, all in Japanese, of course. They recorded all the vocals in Japan. And there's also a recording of Eyes on Me there with Crystal Kay, who's a pop star in Japan, did that overdub, that vocal. So it's an interesting record. On the other hand, there's some things on there that people can already purchase. Vamos a Flamenco, for instance, is on there. Xanarcan, Ron 4, things that are already on the Distant Worlds records with the Royal Stockholm Philharmonic, and they're terrific. So it's a mixed bag of what it is. It's like the greatest hits from a lot, from all the Final Fantasies, some original soundtracks, some new recordings, that kind of thing.
As this is an anniversary concert, most of the audience will be longtime fans of the series and fans of Nobuo Uematsu, but you're also going to have many younger fans at this concert, and as well as at future concerts. Now, as a musician in a society that's currently pushing core subjects, sometimes at the expense of the fine arts, talk about the importance that Distant Worlds has on younger fans, especially as they start getting into performance ensembles, getting into composition, and so on.
Well, it functions on so many different levels. On the one hand, if we look at the basics of the music itself, I don't remember if last time we spoke I mentioned this, but Nobuo Uematsu adopted the technique from day one, from 25 years ago, of writing all of his music very tied to each of the characters. So leitmotifs, basically, that there are individual themes for each of the characters all the way through history. And if the character continues over various versions, then that theme is adapted as well. So the musical theme, musicians sometimes refer to it as a Peter and the Wolf technique, only because that's such an obvious, here's this character and that character, and they each have a musical signature. Also, battles had musical signatures. Certain environments and lands and worlds had a musical theme or signature. So that's one level of connectivity between music and content, right? Another level is the whole idea of post-scoring, which happens with movies as well. The idea that you're scoring the action, but you're also scoring the emotion of the scene, maybe underscoring a plot line that's going on. And we have a lot of that in Final Fantasy. Not as much in many other video games, but in Final Fantasy, that RPG game, we have a lot of underscoring love triangles or quests or certain battles or certain particular things. And I think that that's another level at which the music functions, tied to the action. And this is not, as I say, unlike movie scoring that way. Now, in terms of it, we find that these types of projects tend to be more inspirational for musicians going into this. And we do these VIP meet and greets after every concert, and we talk to them, and every single person comes up to Nobu and says, your music has been an inspiration for me. It's been one of the reasons I got into performing or composition or whatever it might be. Or even scoring for video games, which a lot of people are trying to get into. But why? I mean, again, it's these nuts and bolts, the structure of what he did. I think you probably realize, not every composer of video game music adopted that style of composition. In the music world, we have lots of people that can go to school in very good schools. California, the East Coast, Chicago, there's a lot of great music schools that teach post-scoring techniques. Time code, SMPTE, how to score things, how to line up film and figure out points of convergence, between music and action, that kind of thing, and how to calculate the action on a linear scale like this. Those things can be taught, and there are various levels of skill of orchestrating and your musical vocabulary that you use, whether it's rock or pop or orchestral or whatever your background is. But those things can be taught. My point is that those are technique, and you have an awful lot of composers out there who are about the technique of post-scoring. Here's this hit. We know how to get that. Bang, we got that. Here's this kind of sweeping kick over to the left. You can score that. That action. It happens exactly 0.7 tenths of a second or whatever it might be. You can score all that stuff. It takes a different kind of composer to not only score the action and hit all the action points, but also be doing it interweaving melodic content and structure. So, as I often compare this, it's the most obvious comparison that I can come up with. If you look at Star Wars and you look at Lord of the Rings, Howard Shore is fantastic, really great, and we're all taken aback by the great scoring and orchestration of Lord of the Rings. But how many of us come out of the movie theater singing a melody from Lord of the Rings, whereas come out of Star Wars or Harry Potter, yes, we're singing those things. again, it's the connectivity, it's the idea that melody and structure comes first, not scoring the action first. That's easy, that's technique. And I say it that way as if it's obvious, but the reality is, look at most video games. What you really get is a main title. It might be a gorgeous main title, beautifully written, with structure and melody and everything, but then the whole rest of the game is underscoring. It's just kind of faceless catching the action. Final Fantasy is a little different in that it takes melodic threads and structures and weaves them in along the lines that John Williams did with Star Wars or Harry Potter. So you can take this melodic theme and you present it triumphantly at the beginning or innocently at the beginning, and then you might stress it out when it's in a battle situation, you know, so it goes into a minor key or in a weird, quirky rhythm, or you have two different themes battling, thematically battling. So you're telling the story by the melody and the structure. This doesn't happen so much in a lot of other games. So, you know, I get asked the question, why is Final Fantasy, why would people come to concerts of Final Fantasy and not other things? And this is the reason, I believe. You know, yes, it was one of the first RPG games, but more than that, the music is so much more important in that game than other video games, in percentage or whatever. I mean, and I think everyone, whether you're a Final Fantasy fan or not, agrees with that that's what's unique about the music in this game, is that it's so incredibly important compared to other video games. So, I don't know if I answered that or answered something else, but...
After Chicago and Montreal next month and the Japan concerts coming up, what can we expect from Distant Worlds in 2013 and beyond?
Well, one thing that we'll certainly continue to do is try to push into other areas that we've never performed in, geographical territories. Even already this year, we've seen a push. For instance, I'm leaving in a week to go to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. All 3 concerts are sold out there. We've never played there before. I'm going to Adelaide. We've played in Sydney. We've never played with the Adelaide Symphony, so that's the week after that. We're pushing into other parts of Asia, but we're also making a big push into Europe. Coming up, we just played London and Edinburgh, but coming up we're playing Paris in January, we're playing Munich in March, we're playing Vienna in June. We're just announcing that right now. So the point is that we're pushing into a lot of other areas that we haven't been in. So in 2013, 2014, 2015, you can look for us playing, for instance, I'm very anxious to get into Central and South America. We haven't been down there. There's a great fan base down in Brazil that we really want to, in Argentina, that we want to get to. So we want to push into that. We want to play Mexico City. We want to get down there. So there's all these things that we're pushing for. And there's many more locations in Asia that we haven't been to yet. We're working on announcing Hong Kong very soon. There's going back to Singapore. There's a lot of other locations. So that's one big thrust. The other thrust is developing, as we started talking at the interview, developing more varied ways of presenting the repertoire. There are lots of different possibilities. One is the multiple evening type of engagement where we're able to present different concerts, you know, different material on each of these. A lot of this is dependent on how much rehearsal time I'm able to get with the orchestra, because if you're going to perform more pieces, you need more rehearsal time. So, do we have a really good chorus? Do we have a pipe organ so we can do Dancing Man? You know, all these logistical things. But the other thing is developing the chamber music program, and I think you could look for more performances of that next year. It went really well in London. We did a 30-minute small chamber music performance before the concert in the evening. That went really well, and that's something that there's a lot of universities and smaller venues that really don't have the space for 100 performers on stage. And we're able to bring in now this smaller chamber music version of Distant Worlds with video content as well. So I think I think that that may be a very interesting way to be able to bring it again, even in North America, to other locations that other than the biggest cities, college campuses, you know, that kind of thing. So we're interested in that expansion as well. I think that that's a very interesting way for the future for that.
All right, now I'm sorry to bring this up again, but I gotta ask.
Okay.
CSO?
Well, you remember, of course, we had that
Right.
one. Yeah. Well, no, we're doing this concert here in Chicago in December. We played at Symphony Center June 2011. Yeah. So the next time possible for the CSO, I would guess that they'd want to wait a little bit before we would get into there. We're not in discussions with them right now. We are in discussions with lots of orchestras all over the United States. Atlanta Symphony, BAM, going back to New York, Brooklyn Academy of Music, Boston, going back to Symphony Hall there, Seattle, Vancouver, San Diego Symphony during Comic-Con next year, Denver. I mean, there's a lot of discussions going on right now. So all of that is happening. We played Chicago a lot, so we have to be careful about that too. I mean, St. Louis, you know, we played recently, St. Louis Symphony, and that went very well. So I imagine that we might be looking at going back there at some point as well. And Baltimore Symphony has asked us to come back too. So, and we keep going down to Texas and playing Dallas and Houston, and those have been sold out every time. So, and I'm also looking forward to bringing in other composers. Nobu, of course, he's the one that everyone wants to have, and he's our closest ally, frankly. But we've had Masashi Hamauzu many times come out to Distant Worlds. He was just with us this weekend, along with Nobu, in London. And as I said, I had Naoshi Mizuta and Kumi Tanioka when I did the Final Fantasy XI concert in Berkeley. We'd like to have maybe some of them come out, maybe Sakimoto come out to some of the Distant Worlds concerts. So it would be really fun to get all those composers together, you know, in the same room. That would be a lot of fun. It'll happen. Maybe the 30th anniversary. So.
Maybe get the CSO for that one.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That would be a good pairing, right?
All right, well, that just about wraps up my questions. Did you have any final messages to the fans as we anxiously await the celebration next month?
No, just a big thank you for all the fans, for all their support. The support has been fantastic, and can't wait to see everyone December 7th in Chicago, because it's going to be a fun concert.
Well, Arnie Roth, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. We're all looking forward to the concert next month.
Great, thank you.